Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Welcome back. Well, the SGX Nifty is surging, in fact, as we speak, 42 points higher. Now, keep in mind that's, of course, about index future. 40 points higher if you add on the spot. You are looking at a start around 11,500. Ashwani Gujral, Sudarshan, Sukhani, and Mitesh Thakkar join us. Good morning, Ashwani. Looks like a start at 11,500, right at that mark, in fact. What would be a good trade there then?
Good morning, and the issue is whether you chase or you don't chase. So the problem here is that we had a bit of a rally on Friday. Had it been a narrow range type day, possibly the breakout could have been chased. But my sense is that today you will get some sort of dips, etc. at this 10,500, 520 zone, and you need to build your positions a bit more carefully because you're already sitting on 2 or 3 days worth of rally. I find it difficult to believe that in the first hour we'll be 80 to 100 points up on the Nifty. So somewhere, the buy on decline has to happen. But I think that we are crossing 10,500 is a definite vote that the market wants to go higher, both on Nifty and Bank Nifty. Bank Nifty probably will outperform. But overall, we should look for a higher closing today.
Okay, so you buy. Good morning, Ashwani. You will buy only if it's a moderate gap up. What will be the strategy itself?
See, say I need to buy 10,000 Nifty.
Okay.
So I'll buy 4,000 right at the open.
Okay.
Then through the day, as we get those dips, I'll build up that position to 10,000 instead of going all in 10,000 at once and then being underwater all day.
And likewise for Nifty Bank?
Yeah, obviously, because today may not be a large day in terms of points. It could be just kind of sideways and hanging around above 10,520 thereabouts.
Okay, well, Sudarshan, Sukhani and Mitesh Thakkar are also with us, so let's welcome both of them. Sudarshan, hi, good morning. Of course, I want your view on the index as well, but also on Infosys, because this is one stock that you have been bullish on for a while. What would the trade be today, considering the negative news flow?
Yeah, the Nifty is a buy. We are long in the index, and the idea last week, all through the week, was to buy every dip, and luckily the Nifty went on giving us dips. Today again, if you are long, stay long. And now, Sonia, can we dare to think of 12,000? Maybe. So that's interesting.
Okay,
I think you dared, right?
Okay, dare to think of 12,000. That's, of course, going to be interesting. Mitesh, good morning. How are you approaching trade?
Good morning. So, last time we were here, I think we had a hourly closing around the 11,480 mark. I think we'll start today about that. But that 11,480 becomes an immediate pivot. So, let's say if the index opens around 11,500, 510, I think then 11,480 becomes your immediate stop loss if you want to enter afresh, given the fact that it will be a gap breakout and it will be a breakout into all-time highs. So maybe you would want to attempt a long with a 30-point stop loss. In case that gets hit, then I think we'll still consolidate some more back to 11,500, 350 kind of a zone. But if we sustain this, then I think 11,600, 650 could be tested over the next 4 to 5 sessions.
Okay, fair enough. With that, we get prepared for your stock calls. Ashwani, what are you trading?
See, ACC is a buy with a stop of 1560, target of 1680. The cement rally is getting back. Hindustan Unilever is a buy with a stop of 1770, target of 1825. SBI is a buy with a stop of 297, target of 315. Canara Bank is a buy with a stop of 272, target of 286. And Torrent Pharma is a buy with a stop of 1750, target of 1810.
Okay, and your take on Infosys, Ashwani?
While individuals are important, when you get to, billions of dollars, they're not so important. And as we've seen, when people leave, that's the best buying opportunity. That we have corrected will give you a nice gap up. But for most parts, people should gap down. So for most part, people should try to buy into Infosys in this gap down. This will get cleaned up in, probably a couple of days. Raghuram Rajan left, nothing happened. So I think this is a little less important.
Okay, all right. Well, if Sachin Tendulkar can, after his departure, if the cricket team can get stronger, then anybody's exit can be handled, right? Sudarshan, you were telling us your view on Infosys. Sorry, we didn't get that. And what are the other stocks that you would be looking at?
See, the charts for Infosys are wonderful. There is nothing to stop it. So I would think that if there is anything in the news that causes a decline in prices, for an investor, you are actually getting an opportunity to buy that stock that much cheaper. I don't think, charts distribute. They give a sense that something is going wrong and the markets are not liking it. There is no distribution. Nothing has happened. I would be long on any dip as an investor. Stocks are all for buying mainly. Ultratech Cement is a buy. The cement I have spoken about is bottoming out slowly. That process is tedious and arduous, but it's there. So consider buying the stock. Then TCS is a buy. We talked about Infosys, but actually, relatively, TCS has been a better performer. So you consider trading in that stock today. Star Shashun is a buying opportunity. I've talked about how pharma is bottoming out. Now that bottoming out process is probably complete. And Star, after that big decline, is going to see up moves, significant up moves. Pidilite is a buy. So FMCG, IT, and pharma, these are the three main sectors I'm focusing on. One short sell is Muthoot Finance. That stock independently is having some problems, but mainly stay on the buy side.
Okay, mainly stay on the buy side. Mitesh, what about you? What are your stock calls?
So ACC features on my list as well. I think, as Ashwani rightly pointed out, a lot of cement stocks on the short-term charts are showing a lot of promise, and ACC and Dalmia Bharat are amongst them, and I've chosen ACC. That's a buy with a stop at 1572 for targets of 1640. Aurobindo Pharma had a continuation gap on Friday, so that's a buy with a stop at 639, look for targets of 690. Also a buy on HUL, which made a fresh swing breakout. That's a buy with a stop at 1760 for targets of around 1840. And I have a solitary sell call, which is on BPCL. While the crude prices have kind of cooled off, the chart for most of the oil refining stocks are slightly on the negative side. So BPCL, if you get a bump up in the morning around 380, would be a good shot. Keep a stop at 388 and look for declines to about 365 zones. Okay.
Ashwani, I wanted your thoughts on the corporate banks, ICICI and Axis. What next? Because Axis is up 14% this month, ICICI is up 12%. And also your thoughts on ITC, which is making a big move after a long time.
ITC is, some sort of catch-up, etc. But, it's a kind of a sideways type stock. The earlier highs were about 350, 360. So it's doing this range of about 250 to 360. But I think corporate banks is a much more hated group. So that way, that has more upside. Now, should you buy it today? I think it's sitting on a fairly large rally. At some point, people will say that, okay, the rally is over, nothing is improving, etc. You need that kind of decline to get into. Otherwise, right now, ICICI from 260 to 340, it's a large rally. It's difficult to get in right now and get a good risk reward. I think 2-3 days of strong decline will give you that price. But overall, I think these guys are moving higher.
Okay. I will come back to you with more stocks, in fact, to all of you. For the moment, we have to look at the market impact of what has been a terrible tragedy. Almost 2 weeks of incessant downpour and a resulting flood situation in Kerala to take stock of how this could impact some of the Kerala-based NBFC companies. George Alexander Muthoot, Managing Director of Muthoot Finance, joins us now on the phone line. Good morning, George. Thank you very much for joining us. All our commiserations for what must have been a very trying time. Before we get to the numbers itself, are things limping back to normalcy? Would you say the worst of the flood is behind you at Kochi, at Pattanamthitta, at all the affected areas?
Yeah, thank you. And I think overall we have lost more than 200 lives, but thousands of houses have been affected by this, and which will require a lot of huge repairs, especially to shops, houses, business, etc. But the whole state has been actually acting as one. All the people, even the fisher folk from other places came with boats. The Navy came, the Army came, Air Force came. Everybody worked as a team. So probably we were able to restrict the lives lost. But property damage definitely is there. to answer your question about the receding, the water has started receding, but still the catchment areas of the band. We have so many dams here, about around 40 dams here. So some of those dams have to be opened now also. So that is what is happening now also. So all the dams are on full capacity. So if they start opening, a little affect the water level may rise more. But then effectively it is definitely under control, and things are looking to get normal.
So George, therefore, to come to your own P&L and your own immediate business, have you all taken stock, any preliminary stock, prima facie? Do you think that there can be defaults, more than usual defaults this quarter?
See, as you are aware, our business is mainly focused on gold loans only. And even in gold loans, only less than 5% or 4 to 5% of our business comes from Kerala. Because Kerala is generally seen by us as a resource mobilization state and not as a lending state. So Kerala, although we started in Kerala, our business, gold loan business, less than 5% is from Kerala. But as far as the impact of the on the branches are concerned, only 3 of our branches which were on the ground floor have been affected due to this flood. So what happens is the gold is stored in the strong room or in the safe. It is actually safe. It only gets wet. We don't lose it. But the documents, etc., we will have a difficulty in retrieving the documents. But of course, because of the core banking systems, it may not be a big difficulty. So out of that, only 3 branches have been affected, but staff are unable to come to the branch. That's the actual fact of it, and roads and connectivity, etc. But some of the staff personally would have lost a lot of some possessions, their houses, etc. As far as the business is concerned, gold loan business, very, very minimal impact, I should say.
Okay, so minimal impact, less than 4 to 5% comes from Kerala, and 3 branches have been affected. George, hi, morning. For the industry, though, what kind of impact do you see? I mean, in general, what percentage of loans comes from the Kerala market, and what kind of long-term damage do you see or ramifications do you see for the industry?
Yeah, but banks and the people who have lent money to MSMEs or to the other sectors of small shopkeepers, etc., because the shopkeepers' business have been affected, it will have certainly an impact on their repayment, because most of them would be secured with the stocks, etc., and I'm not sure how many of them are being fully insured on these stocks, etc. So the shopkeepers would be affected, and the people also would be affected in their business as well as their salaries, etc. Of these shop workers in the shops.
But George, you know, as it is, you all were seeing a rise in your NPAs. Will not this add to the pressure at all for you, and even loan growth?
See, I told you the business growth in Kerala is stagnant for the last 3 years. Actually, it has only been coming down. Only less than 5%, I told you, of the business comes from Kerala. So Kerala, even otherwise, has not been impacting our balance sheet or our top line growth or our income, etc. As far as the NPAs are concerned, we have always told you that since we have the gold with us, the NPAs is just a technical NPA, and we are fully secured with the gold always with us. So I don't think there is an impact on that on the P&L.
Okay, all right, Mr. George, thanks so much for joining us and giving us your view. So that's Muthoot Finance saying that 3 of their branches in Kerala have been affected due to the floods, but not too much of a long-term damage. Less than 4 to 5% of gold loans comes from the Kerala market. We'll get back to focusing on the market itself. Lots of F&O queues lined up. Take a short break. Vinod Sharma of HDFC Securities will join in with some F&O trading ideas. Also, we'll discuss some fundamentals. Prakash Diwan will be with us in a bit.
Welcome back. The SGX Nifty will once again come up for you. So we have something to lean back on when we look at the futures index. And that looks a tidy distance above the 11,500 mark. So how do you trade the Nifty here? Vinod Sharma, Head of Business Private Client Group at HDFC Securities, joins us now for some F&O strategies. Good morning, Vinod. Thank you very much for joining us here.
Good morning.
What's the Nifty trade today? I assume a long trade is asking.
Yes, definitely both Bank Nifty as well as the Nifty proper I think one can go long right at the open. Where can this level go? I think the Nifty has continuously made new highs. So maybe our target for the current series is 11,750 odd. And our annual target was 11,800. So we will be done with that. But the markets have a mind of their own. But individual stocks have a lot of room to go.
Okay, so you want to tell us what the individual stocks are that you're looking at this morning?
Yeah, one is Sensex stock, ITC. This is a stock which we have recommending since 270. And even all my last appearances, I have recommended this stock. In fact, we still have a bull spread open on this stock where we asked you to buy the 305 call and sell the 330 call. But right now, I'm recommending a 315 call to be bought at 4.3, stop loss at 2, and target of around 8. So a lot of elbow room here in terms of growth possibilities exist. And Tata Steel is another stock, Nifty stock, which we are considering buying. I'm buying the 600 call at 7.5, stop loss at 4, a target around 13. This stock has done pretty well, 12% higher in OI and 8% in price terms. And to boot, we also already have Chinese metals up almost 3.3% today in morning trade.
Okay, so ITC and Tata Steel. Any of the pharma names from the frontliners? I mean, Sun Pharma, Lupin are up about 10% this month. Anything you would trade?
Sun Pharma, obviously the markets bounced back and the index bottomed out in the month of June, and we in fact pointed out Sun Pharma to be bought. It is we are continuing to buy Sun Pharma. Since we are early buyers, we are not buying it right now, but we are looking at other stocks which are playing catch up. So Glenmark is one which I am buying 610 call at 12 rupees, stop loss at 8, target of around 20. And Aurobindo is another stock, but which I am not recommending today. But definitely the stock, all other stocks in the sector need also to be looked at with the positive frame of mind.
Okay, you have Marico as well on your list.
Yes, along with Hindustan Lever and ITC, this stock has done well. So in terms of open interest, we have seen huge open interest being built up to the extent of 25% in the series. Yesterday, there was some profit taking. The stock went up, but OI was reduced. I am continuing to buy the 375 call at 5.5, stop loss at 3, target of around 12. And IDFC is my last stock. I am buying the 52.5 call at 1.5 rupees, stop loss at 0.8, and a target around 3.
Okay, thank you very much, Vinod, for joining us and giving us your FNO strategies. It looks like it's going to be a great day for the bulls, but let's wait and see whether the gap up finds more buyers. Well, one stock that's been a big mover has been Titan. The stock has gained over 16% this month. Remember, their Q1 earnings showed a huge improvement in the watch business with a near doubling of margins. S. Subramaniam, the CFO of Titan, joins us on the phone line. Good morning, Mr. Subramaniam. There has been one big tailwind, it appears. Gold prices have fallen. In the past month or two, it's exacerbated a bit. Is that a positive for the stock? Does it draw more buyers and improves margins in any way?
Good morning. Gold prices softening is, in a way, good normally because it does bring in customers who possibly have been waiting, to buy it at a more opportune time. So, to that extent, I think it is good. Of course, the problem is that the rupee has been weakening. So, while internationally gold prices have fallen, the rupee weakening is in a way almost keeping it at similar levels as it was in the past. But generally, softening of gold prices is good for business. Having said that, I think the industry is still not as buoyant as it used to be in the past. We've talked about that for the last 6 months or so. So to that extent, there is some softening of the demand, but hopefully the softening of gold prices should help.
Okay, so there is some softening of demand, you said. Mr. Subramaniam, good morning. The last time you had said to us that the jewelry business in July grew about 70% and August may see a growth of 40%. We're almost at the end of August now. Have you seen that kind of growth so far? And by the end of Q2, what kind of growth can you see? About maybe 20-25% or more?
Well, August is still not over. It's quite some time yet to go. But having said that, July was good. I should also caveat that July had a very favorable base. So doing that 70% growth was not surprising because of the base being very, very weak in the last year. So to that extent, I think that's what explains July. August has been okay. I won't say it's great because I think the basic demand situation has been a little muted. We are gaining share as we talk. I mean, that's not the issue at all.
No, I wanted to know about the floods, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Subramaniam, the festive season is normally ushered in with Onam, isn't it?
Yeah.
That must have hurt. So that's why I think this question from Sonia, whether August was...
It's quite likely, yeah, because the southern states generally have been hit quite badly. At least Karnataka and Kerala have been hit very badly due to the rains. So one is hoping that things settle down there fast and it picks up. But as you said, yes, the festive season is just about starting. So it's still early days to give any prediction of how the demand situation is going to be.
So will you stick to the guidance of 25% for the remainder of FY19 in the jewellery segment, or does that look like a tall ask now?
Still a little early. I would rather wait for a month or so to see how the demand is when the festive season really starts. Because you never know, these things change, and particularly gold rates can be a big boost if they are going to be soft. So things may turn around quite quickly.
Okay, so for the moment you are sticking with the 25% that you guided after the first quarter.
Well, I'm saying it's a little early to say that,
All
but
right.
One is hoping that we'll be able to do that, yes.
Okay, then what would be a realistic target you will work with if there is one?
Well, maybe 5 percentage point lower, maybe 20 should be possible. I don't think that should be an issue because we do have a favorable base in these 3 quarters. So 20% at least. So 20 to 25, I would think is generally what we should be looking at.
Okay, all right. So 20 to 25% as opposed to the 25% growth guidance that you had earlier. All right, Mr. Subramaniam, thanks a lot for joining us and giving us your view. We have Prakash Diwan who also joins us in the studio. Prakash, hi, good morning. You were listening into the conversation.
Yes.
Clearly, there is some sluggishness in demand and he says that August has been just about okay. Would that make you worry a bit or would you use it as a buy on dips opportunity in Titan?
So, good morning, Sonia. So, I think what he's alluding to very clearly is that if August is weak, it's not going to be just a 1 month phenomenon. It'll probably be a trend that would last much longer. And the flood situation in the south is completely taken away the ability for people to look at buying gold and jewelry and watches at this stage. So, you're not going to have that. Of course, a lot of Kerala-based buying is from local jewelers. It's not necessarily that everybody walks into a Titan store. And then somehow, it reminded me of how Thermax sounds on capital goods. They always are very cautious. They try and manage expectations. Titan does the same thing. They do come up with numbers which are not as bad as the commentary might prepare you for. But I think Titan could be a bit soft for some more time before you start buying. So 16% and run up solid. I think 16 or 18% this month.
8,
that's been quite good, and it's kind of played catch up with the rest of the consumption themes. But I think it could probably have a sideways consolidated kind of move for the next 3-4 months.
Prakash, good morning. What about Infosys? 37% up this year. Of course, from the day of Vishal Sikar resigning, it's been a big mover. But you reckon there could be some profit taking today on the stock?
I think it'll more be dependent on what has been the reason. If there is some explanation to Mr. Ranganath, who it kind of came as a surprise for sure. And there are apprehensions that the ship is not too steady as yet. And with Mr. Salil Parekh coming in, things could still take time to stabilize. And this could have happened, immediately in 3 months of his coming also. I mean, not saying that these are things that never happen. But I would believe post the Bansal resignation, things have been slightly in some sort of a disarray. And every time we keep on pointing to one transaction, and if that is still not been exorcised of sorts, the ghost continues to haunt them. It could have some sort. But I think they're in a sweet spot. This could not be, the timing of the resignation is such, Anuj, that it will get taken. It'll get taken very in its stride of sorts, because there is an upswing in terms of demand and order flow. Especially from the BFSI sector in the US, things are looking up very strongly. So I don't see this to be a big setback of sorts on the stock.
Okay, I'm equally wondering what is happening in the retail space. Newspapers today speaking of two huge deals. Alibaba could be tying up with Reliance Retail, picking up 51% stake. The number 5 billion is what Mangalam was not so sure about, because the valuation given to Reliance is much more, that a 51% should be available at 5 billion. And separately, of course, another newspaper reporting that more could be snapped up by Amazon. So how are you looking at the retail? First of all, how are you looking at Reliance and the fact that it has big plans for retail? And separately, at the listed retail space, are they in for a telecom kind of onslaught with this competition?
So is that good or bad?
Bad for the listed is what I'm wondering.
Exactly.
Good for consumers, but it may be bad for the listed guys.
Incumbents will definitely face the heat. And more has been kind of on the block for a while. It's, very clearly it's owned by the family and not by any of the listed entities, which means that once the family gets money, they could probably bolster their holding in some other businesses which they want to restructure. And there are lots of the cement businesses that they're already doing things with. So I think that seems more like a plausible transaction in the making. I'm not too sure of the Reliance Retail. Reliance Retail has just started upping the ante in terms of its pace of growth, scale. So it's too early for, and Reliance doesn't need that kind of capital to back them up with this kind of growth expansion. They can still go a long way before the monetization starts. So my sense is the store expansion that we have seen it's just begun, and it will finally dovetail into their e-commerce aspirations or platform or whatever is in the making. So they're still too early for that, Lata. So names do get thrown up.
I'm only wondering for the listed future
so
kind
what
of
impact
stocks,
it has. So what
if you have Alibaba, Amazon and Walmart fighting out in India
do the smaller
and Reliance, should we worry at all? Should investors worry?
So either they, the smaller ones get bought out by the big ones, and that could be an opportunity for the small ones to sell out at good prices. So we've seen that happen with Shoppers Stop. It wasn't doing anything, but we saw the kind of valuation that it started getting. So I think I'll still not be too worried. Give it some time.
Okay, well, many more questions lined up for you, Prakash. We need to take a short commercial break. On the other side of the break, we'll have the pre-opening rates. SP Tulsian will also be joining in to detail some long-term stock ideas.